excited. Okay. Now, maths of finance is not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm going to do the essential parts of it, which is going to be helpful to you. Okay. I gave you some notes there. So you have the notes in front of you. And that's a good summary. Now, you have been doing maths of finance. Isn't that beautiful now? That's good. An excellent summary of the maths of finance, right? If you don't have one, then you rather put your hand up or keep your hand up, and then I'll get Chris Pouches to walk around and give that to you if you don't have a copy. All right. So the first one, in other words, what you're expected to know is the simple interest. So if you're looking at that portion there, right? So simple interest, okay? And then you're looking at also compound interest there. Now, let me explain the difference between these two so that you have an understanding. Now, because if you understand that thoroughly, then you're going to find it easy to understand the grade 12 work. Now, you know me very well. You're not allowed to write when I'm talking. 100% attention. Brilliant students listen and understand. Weak students write. I will tell you when to write. Okay? Now, for the simple interest, if you look very carefully, you're going to get a certain amount of money, and I'm going to call that money, let's say, in that box, right? And you invest that, let's say, for 5 years, right? This is T0, the day that you go to the bank, and then what happens is that you have this one amount of money which gets deposited into the bank on simple interest, so that same amount or the same money that you put in, plus you'll get some interest over it. So that cloud, like there, is the interest. Now, it's important to understand the principle behind simple interest. It's one amount, right? So that is fixed. You put this at the beginning of the investment period. It's whether it's 100 Rand, 200 Rand, 5,000, and so on. So this block represents that single amount that you want to invest, and you get that at the end of the period with a whole lot of interest. Okay, so that period is called the interest period. Now, as you can see in this formula that we have here, right? So you got F, the future value of your money, of your investment. P is the principal, 1 plus I to the power of n. Now, when you look at this equation, the first thing you need to know, it's a linear equation. Now, linear means that the interest goes in a straight line. Okay, you know, many years ago, we set a paper question on this, but we didn't do that after that time. So if you look at this equation, so if you want to know, let's assume you have 1,000 Rand. I'm taking an example here. I don't sort of prepare these things beforehand. So you want to put in 1,000 Rand, right? 1 plus, and the interest is 12%. So you write it as that, 0.12. And you want to multiply it by 5 years, right? I hope you carried your calculator with you. Can all of you multiply that for me and give me an answer? So it's part of the training this morning is using a calculator, right? And if you can give me the answers, then we can go quite fast. All right. So it's one amount of money put in. Anybody got the answer? You can just shout it out for me. 1,600 Rand. Now, in other words, after 5 years, that's what you're going to get. Now, let's take that same investment, and this time we want to invest it compound interest. Now, the key words there are simple interest, one amount, invested for a period of time. You get that at the end of the investment period together with interest. Now, when you take compound interest, right, you want to know what the difference is between these two, right? So remember, this here is still grade 10 and 11 work. So don't get excited that you understand the work because it's known work, all right? For compound interest, you're going to get, I'm going to take that same 1,000 Rand, right? And I'm going to invest that. Now, you can invest this money, right? and the interest is added according to a certain period. Now, you must understand the language, right? And that is critical to compound interest, or for that matter, maths of finance. At the end of that first year, you're going to get that same money that you invested, 1,000 rand, right? With a little bit of interest. Okay? So you can see that same block, 1 amount 1,000 rand. So this is let's assuming you want to invest this at the end of the first year, you're going to get that 1,000 plus interest. Now, what happens? So in other words, this is your P, and this one is your P, and I'll call it, let's say prime, because it's got the 1,000 plus interest. And what happens for the next year, that 1,000 rand that you put in there gets that interest plus interest on top of that. So basically, that first 1,000 plus the interest earned in the first year, and it gets a little bigger. So basically, now this is beautiful to see. In the case of compound interest, your investment is increasing exponentially. That's why the formula is A is equal to P into 1 plus R over 100 all to the n. That's exponential. So you're getting interest upon interest. That's why we call it compound interest. All right? Now, that's important because inside the questions that I set, this word's compound interest is always operative. You've got to understand that. Okay? So simple interest and compound interest are similar investments in the sense that it's one amount that you invest for a certain period of time. One amount. And I'm making this point deliberately. One amount. In the case of simple interest, the interest is given at the end of the period, as you can see there. So that's the 1,000 rand to the whole blob of interest. So what you receive at the end of the 5 years is that piece. In the case of compound interest, you're putting the 1,000 rand, but the interest gets added maybe monthly, it gets added quarterly, it gets added half yearly, or it gets added or biannually, twice in a year. So that is called the frequency of the investment, or the frequency of adding the interest. Okay? Now for grade 11, in the June exam paper, I set a question on that as well. So let's assuming you had this 1,000 rand, okay, and you invested it we're taking it for 12%, which is R, and you're taking it for N equal to 5 years. Now in maths of finance, most of the work that you learn in maths of finance is called scenarios. In other words, how is this investment taking place? How is this money being invested? Now you know, and I know that most of you have attended the course today, and you are very privileged to be here, because maths of finance is not understood by everybody, not because they don't know the work, because every question has a storyline to it. You've got to understand the language. Because that's when most people do badly in maths of finance, because they get confused with the words. So let's assuming that you want to invest this 1,000 rand, and what you want to do, you want to add the interest. Now listen, it's one amount of money, 1,000 rand, but how often do you want to add the interest? In simple interest, it's just once at the end of the period. In compound interest, you can add this interest every year. So if you're investing 1,000 rand over 5 years, at the end of the first year, you're going to get the 1,000 rand plus a little bit interest. So you're getting interest upon interest. So if you are investing this money annually, all right, or if the interest is compounded. Now when we say compounded, what we mean is that the interest is being added every year. If I say the interest is compounded monthly, then it means that the interest is added every month. Quarterly, every quarter. And of course, half yearly, every 6 months, and so on. So if you are taking this thing annually, the amount that you'll receive, a future value, in other words, the money you're going to get in the future, is 1,000 into 1 plus, let's make this 18 because I want to make sure that, so it's that, right, all to the power of 5. Can somebody give me the answer there? All right, you can either put 18 over 100 or 0,18. Let's work faster now. I want to hear the clicking of your calculators. Now, how are we doing this? We're doing this thing annually. In other words, we want to make sure that the interest is added every year, right? So, anybody got an answer for me? 2000, yeah, 76. Now, in the second case, now let me do this. What if the interest is added, right, semi-annually or biannually? In other words, the interest is added every 6 months. Now, obviously, I'm teaching it in a way that will make you understand. This is how your teacher is supposed to have taught it to you, because this is your examination questions, right? So what happens is that if you take your future value, remember, we said that in compound interest and in simple interest, it's a fixed amount. So it's 1 plus the interest rate, which is that, but now you've got to divide it by 2. When you're dividing it by 2, it means that you are adding the interest twice in a year, biannually, or every 6 months. Now that 5 represents 5 years, but if you're taking it biannually, every twice in a year, this will become 5 times 2. So that is equal to, can somebody give me the answer now? In other words, sorry? 2,300 and? I didn't hear the 2, 3, give it to me. Yeah. 37. 36. Okay? So as you can see, and then we're going to go, let's assuming we have quarterly. Right? If you want to go quarterly, the future value is 1,000 into 1 plus the interest rate is 0, that divided by 4, and this is 5 times 4, and that is equal to, can somebody give me the answer here? 2,411.71. And then finally, if we want to add the interest monthly, the fourth scenario, the future value is going to be 1,000 into 1 plus 0,18 divided by 12, and that's 5 times 12, and the answer is 2,043.22. Okay. Now, the first observation here, what do you notice about the amounts that you're receiving at the end? It's increasing. How can you account for that increase? What's making the amount get higher and higher and higher? It was 2,287 yearly, but if I do it monthly, it's 2,4. So if you had a choice, you'll choose the monthly. What's the reason for that? Sorry? Okay, in other words, the interest is being added more frequently. The more frequent the interest is added, the higher will be, a nice word, yield. In other words, what you would receive. So in grade 11, this is all I want you to know. Together with that, for the June exam, I set a timeline question. In other words, if you put in the money, and if you remember when we taught you this lesson, you had a timeline, and you had T0, and you had, let's say, T10, and you had, let's say, T6, that's 6 years, and that's 4 years. If the interest here, or the interest was, let's say, 12%, but it was compounded, what's I2 means half yearly. If I say I4, it means the interest is compounded quarterly. So the interest can be, if there's a word that we use, nominal rate and effective rate. Right? Effective rate is the rate that we charge on the day. Nominal rate is charged per year. Does that make sense? Now, I am saying important words because these are the words that we need to know in our answering of the questions. Okay? So timeline, and then compounding periods, quarterly, monthly, and so on, and then simple interest. This is your grade 11 syllabus. Right? Together with this here, if you look at the beautiful summary page that I gave you, I'll type this out. As you can see, this is so what we have done so far is the first one, obtain a clear understanding of simple interest and compound interest. That is what we've done. Differentiate between depreciation. Now, in the case of depreciation, what's the meaning of that? Depreciation means that some asset, right? So whether it's equipment, whether it's a bus, or whatever you want to buy, or the value of a house, it decreases in its value. Okay? It decreases in its value. Not a house increases because of inflation and replacement of that. Usually a house appreciates in value. It's actually car, machinery, those photocopier, those things depreciate in value. Okay? And you can depreciate in two methods. Now, I'm not going to go too much into that. I put in some questions in this booklet. So if you look at the homework and the way I designed the lesson for today, as you can see, find the time taken for that to accumulate to that. If the money is invested simple interest. So that's a straightforward simple interest. So it says, and if you look very carefully here, and I put this purposely on Thursday, Robin invests that 8 years at 18%. How much MUCH will he receive? Annually, biannually, monthly, and quarterly. So you can work that out at home. And then in the next one here, it says, how long does it take a sum of money to double? In other words, if I don't give you the principal amount is not the principal in your school now. The principal is the money that you put in on day one. Right? Initial. Well done. Excellent. The initial amount. The F stands for the future value of that. So if the future value is doubled, so you can call it 2x and the principal call it x. Or if the principal is p, then the future value will be 2p. Okay? Now these are things that you must be able to understand. Sometimes 2 years ago I used a question and some of the schools didn't like it. If I said that a certain amount was triple its value, what's the meaning of that? Triple means that the P was X and the F was what? 3X. Or the P was P and of course the F was 3P. Okay. Now it says here, how long will it take for the buying power of 100,000 Rand if the interest rate of inflation is 13%? Now, when we say inflation, we're talking about compound increase. Now, what I want to do is, can I ask you to try question 4? Whenever they say how long, the unknown is what? N. And when you're solving for N, it's always using logs. Okay, guys, are you with me? So it says, how long will it take for a sum of money to double? So we're saying 2P is equal to P, right, into 1 plus, what's that now, 0.13, 13% to double, and for how long? N. So now, if you look very carefully, can you see you got P there and you got P there? So basically you got 2 is equal to 1 into 1 plus 0.13 to the power of n, which is 2 is equal to 1.13 to the power of n. So the log of 2 over the log of 1.13 is equal to n. Anybody got an answer? Anybody got an answer for me? So you know how to use your log, right? So if you want to know, some of you know how to do that. So what you're going to do, you're going to first of all so you're going to use that log facility, right? And then you're going to go, now I'm using this calculator, I'm used to the 911. So you're going to put 2 there, and you're going to come down with that, and you're going to put 1.13 and then you're going to move that cursor, and the answer is 5.67 years. Right? 5.67 years. So that there is basically a revision of grade 10 and 11 work. Okay, are all of you with me so far, guys? Right. If you look at the converting fluently between nominal and effective rates, there is a formula: monthly, quarterly, half yearly, right? Or you can have biannually, which I didn't include. The formula for converting from nominal to effective rate is that. So if you want to change from nominal effect, you can use that formula. That formula, please make a note in your page there, that formula will not be given to you in the exam. You will need to remember it, right? So that formula will not be given to you. You will need to remember that formula, but it's not difficult to remember it. Okay, so now we want to go, and because it's a section that you're doing in school now, and I really want to teach it to you myself, so we're going to go there. Now, one of the things I mentioned, right? I mentioned when I was doing simple interest, or I was doing compound interest. Who can remember what is one word that I kept on mentioning in simple interest and compound interest? What one word I said, be careful, in simple interest and compound interest, this is what happens. This is what we're doing in these two. Okay, maybe you've forgotten. I said in those two scenarios, it is one amount that you invested. Didn't I say that? What changes, listen, what changes in the compound interest is how often the interest is added. And how often it can be added. Monthly, quarterly, half yearly, or what? Annually. Okay, so that's basically your depreciation. So that's basically your grade 10 and 11 syllabus. Now, I want to teach you the grade 12 work. Okay, are you with me now? You ready for this? Right, in the grade 12 work, the difference. So obviously, because Daniel said to you, one amount, so now we're going to change this a little bit. Now, when you were born, some of you, your parents, what they did for you was, they said, okay, as soon as you were born, your father said, okay, you know what, this child here has got potential to do very well. So they looked at you and you smiled and you gave them an expensive look when you were born, and your daddy says, oh, this is going to be a doctor or a teacher or whatever. And what your parents did was they set aside some money every month, okay? And they put that money away every month and said, okay, one day you're going to be grade 12, and I can't afford the university fees then, right, in 12 years' time, because I don't know how expensive the university fees. When I was at university many years ago, at that time they gave me a bursary of 225 Rand for the whole year, right? Now that is nothing today. You can pay more money at Nando's for that, okay? Now the university price is about 40,000 Rand a year, or 50,000 Rand a year. So what your parents did was they put aside some money every month so that at the end of 12 years, let's assume you were born and 12 years you're in grade 12, you will receive the benefit of that investment. So unlike in the case of simple interest and compound interest, you put one amount of money and you worked out, you got that money at the end of the period. All that changed was the frequency of the interest being added, or in the case of simple interest, at the end of that period, you took that money out. In the case of that insurance, right, where you pay the fixed amount, that there is called an endowment. In other words, you will pay a regular fixed amount every month. Right? Unlike simple interest and compound interest, where you're putting one amount and you're receiving that money at the end of 5 years. In the case of grade 12 work, now we're saying you're investing a fixed amount every month, or every 6 months, or every quarter, or every year. That there is called an annuity. Right? Unlike in the case of grade 10 and 11, you put one amount and you got that at the end. In the case of grade 12, you're putting in a regular. When I say regular, in other words, it's going to occur every month, or every quarterly, or every month, or every biannually. Okay? So if that is the case, right? If that is what we want to do, so we have a situation. Let's assuming I want to put away, let's say, 1,500 rands every month. The interest is 15% per annum, and I want to invest this money for, let's say, 10 years. So the question is this: how much will I receive if I pay 1,500 rands every month? If I pay 1,500 rand every month for 10 years, and the interest rate is 15%. Now, this formula will be given to you in grade 12. Now, the formula for this is the following. Because you're going to get the money in the future, its future value is equal to x into 1 plus I to the power of n minus 1, all divided by I. Now, that is the future value formula. Now, what that does, let me explain here. What that does, it takes every one of those 1,500 monthly payments. It adds the interest, because that's a geometric sequence formula. It adds the interest, and it tells you how much you're going to receive at the end of 10 years. So that F stands for future value, X stands for the monthly payment, X stands for the monthly payment, I stands for the interest, and then stands for the number of years. So in our example, it's going to be future value. You are putting in 1,500 into 1 plus the interest rate is 0.15, 15%, and you're paying it every month, divide by 12, right? And this here is going to be 10 times 12, right? Minus 1. All divided by 0.15 over 12. Can you work that out for me, please? 412,000. 825.59. Now that is what he will receive, right? That is what he will receive if he pays this money every month. What if he's deciding to invest this 1,500 rand and he is investing it quarterly? That means he's paying 1,500 rand. Remember, the frequency of payment, how often you're going to make this payment, is determined by that clue, whether it's quarterly, half-yearly, monthly. What will the answer be if he was depositing this money quarterly? Can you try that? So if it was quarterly, so how is it going to change? If it's quarterly, it's going to be 1,500 into 1 plus 0.15 divided by 4, all to the power of 10 years times 4 minus 1, all divided by 0.15 over 12. Can somebody give me the answer to that? Sorry? 134,000. 134,000. Sorry, just say 1, 2, 3, 4 something. 415 like that. You sure it's 134,000? How can you get less than? You show this 134. Right? Sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, yeah, this is supposed to be 4, yeah. Yeah, okay. Will the answer change now? Yeah, okay. What's the answer? Just call it the number, 3. Same answer, correct. Okay, all right, okay. Now, guys, now, for this lesson so far, this here, the first part of grade 12 work is called investments. Now, there are 3 things that are happening in grade 12. So, in this example here, the question is saying, okay, I want to invest this money. I want to invest 1,500 Rand into this account here, right? And the interest rate is 12% per annum, and you don't know how much you're going to receive if you put this away every month. So it's 412,825.59, and the first case. So if you look at my notes, right? I want you to turn over, right? And I want you to look at this page that I presented for you. So, this is the summary page. For those of you who came here, you realize that I'm actually teaching. You must forgive me for not allowing you to try the problems because I want to make sure that you understand the story. Remember, I'm seeing you once a week. Your teacher is seeing you every day. So with the result, I'll be behind or if not ahead of your teacher. So I'm trying to do a lot in a short period of time. So please forgive me, all right? Do you understand that, guys? All right? So here we say, simple interest, we've done. Compound increase and decrease, we've done. Depreciation, straight line, or reducing balance method, we've done. And now we're going on to grade 12 work, and the higher purchase, which is based on simple interest, and now we're on bullet number 2, and that is annuities. And that's where we are in today's lesson. We're doing what you call investments. And that's the first example that we have done. Okay, so let's assuming, I want to give you a question now, right? Let's assuming that I want to get, let's say, 850,000. I want that, and I want that in 10 years' time, right? And 10 years, and let's say the interest is monthly, right? So the question now, the interest rate here is, let's say, 18% per annum. Now I have a question. The question is saying this: how much a month must I put aside in order to get 850,000 in 10 years at that interest rate? So what is the unknown? When I said how much a month, which is the unknown? X. Can you do this question for me? Same formula. How many of you got that? Just check the board and see if you got that expression correct. How many of you put your hands up if you got the same thing? Right, because it's months. Yeah, question I said, how much a month you must pay, right? So you got to do the 12. Does that make sense, guys? Divide by 12. Now, when you are doing this in the exam, or for any test for that matter, so it's 850,000, right, times 0,18 over 12 is equal to x into 1 plus 0,18 over 12 to the 120 minus 1. So this here is 850,000 times 0,18 over 12, all divided by 1 plus 0,18 over 12 to the 120 minus 1, and that is x. Please set out your work like that, because that earns you part marks. If for any reason whatsoever you make a mistake, then you're going to get part marks. Anybody got that so far? Let me see your hands. Anybody got? Brilliant, brilliant. So what is x equal to? Anybody can give me? Can somebody call it? 2,500 and? I didn't hear the two digits here. 6,5. Thank you so much, my guys. So that's what he must put away every month. Okay? Are you with me? Right. Now, the next question. The next question is this. Here's the next question. If I want to get, let's say, 900,000, and interest rate is 15%, and N is equal to 10 years. Right, 9,000. So the question, or for that matter, let's take that out. Now here's the question. I'm making these questions up. I want 900,000. All of you watching? The interest is 15% per annum. My question is this. How many payments of 7,500 are needed in order to get this amount of money? Shall I repeat that? How many monthly payments of 7,500 Rand are needed to earn 900,000 Rand? Interest is 15%. Let's think about that. Come, let me see. You look all intelligent people here. So you want to make that as pretty as possible. Now these are, remember, Maths of Finance, excuse the pun, right? If you don't pay attention, you can lose interest. Oh, some of you got that. Yes. Yeah. Monthly. I asked the question, how many monthly payments of 7,500 rands I needed to earn 900,000 rand at an interest rate of 15% per annum? Now remember, it's an investment problem. So your first part is to use the investment formula. I can see that some of you are trying very hard, which is brilliant. Can somebody give me what this is as a decimal? Anybody can give me that as a decimal? 1, 1,5. Is it exactly 1,5? Yes. Is equal to, thank you guys. Now this here, so this here, what is this piece as a decimal? That piece, 1 plus 0,15 over 12. Sorry? 1,0. 125. Now, obviously, I have to take this 1 onto this side, agreed? So this will become 2.5 is equal to 1.0. Now, the reason why I gave this question, 12n. Now, why did I put 12n? Because it's monthly, right? And don't you take the number of years and multiply by 12? So you say log of 2,5 divided by the log 1,125, and that's equal to 12n. What is this answer here? Sorry? 7? Like that? Right. That means the monthly, don't divide by 12 now. Always leave your answer at 12n. 12n is that. So how many monthly payments are needed? Right? 74. Because 73 payments will be of how much? That. And that 0.76 will be another payment, which will be slightly less than that. Agreed? But how many months will it take altogether? 74. Okay, does that make sense? Yes or no? Right. I think we're going to, so we've done basically the investments portion. Right, shall we try? So I did one with the monthly payments. I've done one with the interest payment. Right, here's one. I want to get how much a month must I pay? And it's half yearly. In other words, how much must I pay every 6 months to get 780,000? Try that. Anybody got an answer for me? Sorry, 19,000? 82. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Okay, so we finished. You know, normally that takes us about a week to teach in school, and I just did it over an hour. Give yourselves a clap here, guys. Okay. Let's take a short break about